The journey we're taking is the journey within you. Everybody has their own story and their own journey to share. Every journey conceals another journey within its lines. The path not taken and the forgotten angle. Listen to the stories from others sharing their triumphs and struggles that led them to where they are today. Welcome to the journey within you. Let's see, how do we even start? Because, sometimes I have people on here that I know personally, have met them, been around them, but this one was drawn in by the good old social media. And I was watching her, a young woman, and she did this one reel. And I thought, I need to learn more about Amber and I need to see what it is in her life that she's doing. And as I watched her over the last 2 years, I was like, I need to have her tell her story. So, Amber, I am just privileged to have you here with us today. And I would love for you to share your story with us.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for having me. This is what I love to do. I am so grateful that you've asked me to be here and just tell my story and just it's a privilege, truly. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mine feels all over the place. So, you never know where where to start with mine. I'm from Mesa, Arizona. It's a part of Phoenix. It's getting hot.
Mm.
And I'm born and raised here. I don't feel like
Oh,
there's a lot of natives here in Arizona, or at least in Phoenix, but I've always lived here. And I am the third daughter of four girls. The four of us were born in a 5-year span. So we're super close
oh,
together.
wow.
Um, and then let's see, where should I start? I graduated high school and I got engaged pretty soon after that. My husband and I, we got engaged, we got married, loved our little life. We had our first son when we were married just about 2 years.
Mm,
And we found out at birth when he was born that he has Down syndrome.
mm,
So that was a shock just because I was so young. I was barely 21 and not
yeah.
something that I was expecting for sure. And I ended up having really, really bad postpartum depression at that time.
Mm,
Like I couldn't get out of bed. My husband had to bathe me. We had to move in with his parents. It was really, really rough. And I don't know if it was the diagnosis or just postpartum stuff. I never felt bad that I had a special needs child. I felt bad that he had to have me as a mom,
yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
I thought he just
Yeah.
deserves someone who knows
Yeah.
what they're
Yeah.
doing. And so that was a really rough time for me. That was the first time I think that I realized that like, oh, being an adult is hard,
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
real hard
You
things.
really had to grow up fast there.
I
Yeah.
did, yeah. But I was able to come out of that. And then when we had our second child, so our boys were now 4 and 4 months old, is when my husband and I separated. He he decided, anyway, we separated
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we got divorced. And then we were divorced for just a couple of months when we started dating again and got remarried.
Oh,
So that's a part of the story. Not a lot of people know, or they're always shocked to find out, that we got married again. And that was something that I really prayed about
right.
and wanted to know, like, is this something I should do? He's my boy's
Mm-hmm.
dad and he was still very much involved in their
Mm-hmm.
life. And so we did. And we were just married a couple of months when we ended up separating for the second time. So that was really hard for me because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
prayed so strongly about it.
And
I
you
prayed
thought
so
that
hard.
was really what you should be doing. Yeah.
Yeah, I really thought that that was what I should be doing, and I feel like it might have been what I needed to do at that time because I feel like after that divorce, I was really able to move on, and I just feel like
Mm.
it elevated me as a person
Mhm.
emotionally, spiritually.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
really had to put my trust in the Lord at that time. That like I
Mm.
don't know why I'm having to go through this, but I trust in your plan and your timing. So then it was a couple months later that I met my now husband, and we were married in 2017, and we have two kids together. So I have four kids total.
Oh,
And then when we were married, yeah, they're super fun. When we were married just over 3 years, it was 3 years ago. Uh, our youngest was a month old. Is when I got a call from his work saying that he'd had a seizure,
mm.
and he was diagnosed with terminal brain cancer called glioblastoma.
Mhm.
So, glioblastoma, there is no cure. There's a 5% survival rate at 5 years. So we knew he's going to die from this. We knew that from
Yeah.
diagnosis. We were really just hoping for as much time as possible because there are
Right.
cases where people have lived like 7 years, 14 years,
Wow.
like quite some time.
Mhm.
Um, Tim had 4 tumor resections. My husband's name is Tim. 4 tumor resections. He did a couple clinical trials, did all of like the infusions, the chemo,
Mm.
the chemotherapy, the radiation. And it was 16 months. And he passed away in June of
16
2022.
months.
16 months, yeah, from
Yeah.
diagnosis to death. So when he passed away in June of 2022, I was 32 at the time, and my kids were 11, 7, 3, and 17 months.
Mm, young babies.
Yeah, babies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when you started it, I mean, when you got that news like that,
Uh-huh.
and what was the thoughts that came over you? Because you're like, well, God's blessed me with this beautiful marriage and finally a love of my life.
Uh-huh.
And now what?
That definitely was my thought was, I had gone through a lot before I met Tim, and he had gone through a lot before we met each other. And so we had always just thought, like, okay, we are each other's answer to prayers, and
Mhm.
that trials will still come to us in this life, but like no matter what it is, we'll be able to handle it because we'll at least have each other. That
Right.
was always our thought, was like, okay, you know, everything came together and we now have each other, and we'll be able to do this. And so then to find out that no, he's gonna die in the next couple of years, and I knew I was gonna be a widow in my 30s.
Mhm.
It was hard. That was a really hard time for me, that I had to just it was a lot of hard conversations with the Lord of
Mhm.
like, I'm so confused.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, help me understand this a little bit more,
Mhm.
because no, you already answered this prayer. I already prayed for a good man, for,
Mhm.
this beautiful marriage, and you gave him to me, and I'm so grateful for that. So then why am I going to lose him?
Why am I facing this? Yeah.
Why am I facing this?
Mhm. Mhm.
You always have the thoughts of like, did I not learn something the first time
Right.
around? Did I
Right.
not, like, all
What
of
did I
those things?
do? Yeah, because we start blaming
Yeah.
ourselves, you know. Yeah.
Exactly, to where I'm like, where do I need to grow and all of that? And it truly was just, I don't know the answer to that. It's all just in the Lord's timing. So it was a hard time. Like I said, our youngest was a month old, so I was up in the middle of the night doing middle of the night feedings anyway, and I was middle of the night feedings for him, and then middle of the night medications for my husband, and all of the doctor's appointments and stuff. So it was a very stretching growing time for me and for us, to just really grasp that
Mhm.
your time is limited.
Right, and I know that we don't put time or date or whatever, and I respected that from our doctor. He didn't say Tim's only got 3 months, and we know
Yeah.
statistics, we see it out there, we
Uh-huh.
know how things usually progress and do, but
Right.
we know that it's in God's timing and that each day we need to take and make that a memory and make as best as
Mhm.
we can of that day. And even through, I mean, that's something Tim has chosen this time because his second time with cancer, he had it 15 years ago. So he's chose not to go the chemo route, do any of that stuff. And he said, I just want to live my best days. I don't want to
Yeah.
be sick. I don't want to be running to the doctor every minute, and you do. I
Yeah.
mean, you lived at the doctor, right? I mean,
We did.
yeah.
Absolutely, we did. Yeah.
Yeah, every day you have to go for something, another test, another this, and all it does, I think, is that it just drags you down because that's all you're focusing on is the
Uh-huh.
illness, and you're not getting to focus on the day,
Yeah.
and the joy. And I loved how, I've watched all you do the dance parties in the kitchen, and you're still carrying that on because you knew what it did for you in that moment,
Yeah.
and it still does.
Absolutely. It still does. Yeah. So when he was diagnosed, we had Tim and I had a lot of conversations. That's so funny that your husband's name is Tim
I
and my
know,
husband's
I
name is Tim.
know. That's what
So
another
my
thing I
kid.
felt the connection with you.
Yeah. So my Tim and I sat down, and we just had this like, all right, how do we want to do this? We know it's terminal. Do we want to fight super hard? Do we want to just live out our life? And in the beginning we did. I say he fought to the very end, but we really fought. But with glioblastoma, there's not a lot out there for
Yeah,
it. There's
yeah.
only a couple of FDA approved drugs, and then even then there's, all the medical talk. You
Yeah,
have to like
yeah,
qualify for it, and
yeah.
is
You're
it like,
not this percentage, so you can't qualify for this.
uh-huh.
Yeah,
Is it
yeah,
methylated, unmethylated, like all of
yeah.
this stuff. So even with the 4 drugs, he really only qualified for, I think, like 1 or 2. And so, we fought super hard, and then he still just wasn't getting any better. And so he hit, I would say, about a year, and he was like, I don't know how much longer I want to do this. So
Yeah.
he was like, I'll continue on this course of treatment that we're on right now, but if it's still not getting any better, I just don't know if I can do this anymore. And that was really hard for me. That was
Mhm.
actually really hard for
You
me.
felt like he was giving up.
Um, yes and no. Like, in my mind, I kept telling him, like, no, I totally respect that. I totally do.
Yeah,
But then I was
yeah,
like, but what
yeah,
about this? But what
yeah.
about that? What about this
Same thing.
diet change? you know?
Yeah. Yep.
There were so many things like, "Try this keto diet, keto works
Yeah.
really well," and we tried it, and he couldn't stomach it, he, like, emotionally couldn't handle it, and he was like, "I straight up just don't wanna do it, I don't wanna be miserable every day," to
Mhm.
where that was something I had to wrap my brain around, and, I started going to therapy around this time after Tim was diagnosed, and that was hard for me. She told me this just clicked this when she said it like this, it so clicked in my brain. And I was like, it was a hard pill for me to swallow, but I had to truly honor his dying process
Yeah.
to where I was like, okay. So then we continued with that treatment for a little bit. And then we got the results that it wasn't getting any better. And he was still going to multiple therapies a week. He had
Mm.
speech therapy and vision therapy and all of these therapies. And I remember he said to me, it was early May, I don't want to do it anymore.
Mm.
Not he said, I'll continue taking the drug, but I don't want to do the therapies. I don't want to do all of like this extra stuff. So we stopped all of his therapies
Right.
and then he passed away just a couple of weeks later. But
And I don't think it's because he stopped the therapies,
no, 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 not the therapies.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
that was fine, but it was
Right.
just so
He
we
was
tried.
tired and he knew he needed to have that time and not
Yeah.
just be going somewhere every minute. Yeah.
That's what it was. He said, "I just wanna take the time." No, I knew he didn't die because the therapy stopped, but it was just amazing to me that he said,
Yeah.
I just wanna spend time with you and the kids." Whatever that is, if that's a couple weeks, if that's a couple months, like, I just wanna be home with my
Mhm.
family, and so we enjoyed those last couple of weeks where we weren't in the car multiple times a week driving
And
him to
hearing all the
therapy.
stuff. I mean, you hear
Uh-huh.
so much stuff. That's what you go in there and you sit there for an hour with all the things
Mhm.
the doctor has to say, and you're just like,
Yeah.
oh, and then you go to another doctor and they've got a whole
Uh-huh.
nother thing they say. And then like you're
Yep.
going to 4 or 5 doctors because he also has heart failure. He has
Yes.
35% heart capacity.
Oh
And
my
he's supposed to
goodness.
have open heart, but with his cancer now,
He can't,
it's
huh?
just, he just like, and so one doctor finally told us, he's like, just stop going to the doctors, stop getting the tests done,
Yeah.
because there's no need to know these things if you're not planning on doing something
Yes.
like the chemo and all that. He said, just stop wearing
Just
yourself
stop.
out on that. And
Yeah.
the same thing, I have to respect his
His
dying
wishes, his
wishes. And you're
dying
like,
process.
there's parts of you like you were just like, huh, how do I do that? And not,
Yeah.
what if that one more thing did something or changed something, because I get friends
Yeah.
like you probably did, message after message. Did you try this? Maybe
Yes.
try this.
Yep.
And I'll tell him about it. And then he's like, I'm not going to do any of
I don't
that.
wanna do it. I don't wanna
Yeah.
do it. And Tim would get frustrated because those therapies were supposed to help him get better, but the tumor was just making him get worse in general. So then he'd get frustrated. He'd sit
Yeah.
there and be like, they were showing me these pictures and because he had brain cancer and he's like, I couldn't tell him the name of what it was. And I knew that was a chair or whatever, but he's like, I just
Yeah.
couldn't tell him. And so it was just frustrating for him. And so he just decided to stay home and he took the chemo drug that he was on, but the doctor said, this is like a not even an FDA approved, it's used for something else, but we can try it. And Tim was just like, okay,
Whatever.
whatever. Yeah. But he truly, and so the part for me that I always thought, like, no, no, I'll respect his dying wishes. I had always taken that as like his in the hospital or his at home on hospice, like the day that he's dying, how he
Yeah.
wants that
Yeah.
to go.
Yeah. But
And
it's the
no,
whole process.
it's the
Yeah.
whole thing. I had to back that up weeks and months in advance and be like, okay, if he wants to stop taking medication, if he wants to stop the diet, if he wants to stop his therapies, that's his. I knew he was dying.
Yeah.
That whole time I knew you
Yeah.
are slowly dying. You're not
Yeah.
dying today, but I know that you
Yeah.
are slowly dying. So I
And I
had to
know that.
respect
Yeah.
exactly. And that like I said, that was the hardest pill for me to swallow when my therapist said you need to respect his dying process. That was really hard for me.
Yeah, yeah, you're just like, "What? I've already done all this and now you're asking me to do that?" Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
that but I started praying after we had the latest diagnosis because he back in September, he had a PET scan and everything was
Uh-huh.
clear because they had removed the tumor and all, and
Yeah.
he had some radiation on his face that had to be done from some cancer that he let go and go and go.
Yeah.
And we had that, and so we thought, okay, well, things are good for now. And went back for your regular visit in February for blood work because he stays anemic and things. And the CEA level, which is a cancer marker,
Yeah.
was a 3 back in September. And then it had jumped to 15. And I was like, "Huh, I know what that
Wow.
means." And so again, the scan and it showed 2 more tumors were already growing and in the abdomen tissue and um lymph nodes. So the
Yeah.
doctor basically said it's spreading and it's going to go to one of the vital organs. You don't know what and where. And so
Yeah.
my prayer has been not the brain, just please let him have that clarity. If we're going to have to
Yeah.
walk this road, that's my one prayer. And then the other was either heal him here or heal him there. And
Yeah.
that's been my mantra of just saying to release it,
Yeah.
because what else do you do? It's you can't change what's going
No.
on. And I mean, I love people for sending stuff and saying, if you just try this, there's so much proof. And I said, maybe so for that person,
For that person.
but it's not for him and he doesn't want it. And we respect you and appreciate you for sending these things to us.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want people to feel like they can't, but if he wants to try it, I'm all on. I'll try it. He tried to go without the sugar stuff.
Uh-huh.
It's not him. He's just not.
No. It
He
it was the same thing. So with the keto diet, it's like no carbs, like
Mhm.
next to nothing. And my husband was just like, "No, I want bread. I want pancakes, like I want all of the things,
Mhm.
to where that was a hard thing." And I'm like, "All right, I don't even know if the keto diet would work." That's the thing. It might give you another couple weeks, a couple months, but
Mhm.
he just was like, "No, I want to just stay at home and I want to watch movies with you and I want to eat ice cream on the couch with you." To where I
Yeah.
was just like, "Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
that's what we
I
did."
still
Like
bake
you
the brownies and I make the cakes and we have
Uh-huh.
it, because I mean, it might, like you said, a couple weeks, a month, whatever, but
Yeah,
I don't think we change the course of what God has laid out for us. He gives us
exactly.
wisdom to
Yes.
do things, but I think once he says this is where we're going, this
Mhm.
is where we're going.
This is where we're going. And I think I am so grateful that we did that. It was hard for me in the moment, like I said, but I'm so grateful because I look back on those 16 months with such, dare I say, fondness. It's bittersweet for sure. Not
Mhm.
16 months I'd ever want to relive
Mm-mm.
or do again, but
Mhm.
um with such fondness because we truly just we knew, sorry,
It's okay.
we knew, like it's hard having little babies and
Mhm.
just this little family that we both had dreamed about for so long. And we were just living this little life that's this fairy tale life that we felt. And to know this is going to be taken from us, like, I'm not going to always have this and I don't know when, but you are going to die. We just truly every day woke up and was like, how can we live our most happiest day today?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
sometimes that was just like a trip to the park and then like eating ice cream
Mhm.
after dinner, like we
Mhm.
just stayed home and just spent time
Mhm.
together. Like I said, we have dance parties in the
Yeah.
kitchen. And some days that's all he had energy for
Right.
was to get off the couch, come give me a hug in the kitchen, dance a little bit, and then go back to bed. And we
Yeah.
just truly were like, and I'm so grateful we did that because like I said, I look back on that and we had a good time. I don't look back and think like, "Oh, you were miserable." He
Right.
definitely was sick. He had times he
Yeah.
was sick,
Yeah.
but we were happy. It wasn't
Mhm.
like you're miserable because I'm forcing you or
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
you feel forced by someone to do all of this
Mhm.
stuff that you don't want to do. And I'm not saying that you get a cancer diagnosis and you think, "Oh, it's over," and you don't
Yeah.
try anything
Yeah.
at all.
No, no, no.
It
And
was specific to our case.
Mhm.
You know, we knew it was grim from the beginning.
I mean, that's the beauty of having that all out there for us, the knowledge and the doctors to make that choice. And it has to be a personal choice. I don't want to be where I say you have to do this
Yes.
or else, because I've watched too many suffer through doing all
Mhm.
those things, trying to please their family.
Yeah.
And they could have lived a much better life with their family if they had just not done what they want, stuck to
Yeah.
their guns of not doing some of the treatments or whatever. And
Yeah.
so I'm like, he was feeling so bad. He's like, I don't want to hurt you. And I said, you're not hurting me.
Yeah.
I'm sad that this is happening to you and changing what we had because life has been so dramatically pivoted since August for us. And so,
Yeah.
that's the stuff I get all upset about, and just
Yeah.
taking you out of your element that he was doing of his job, and it's just been a life changing. But everybody has said, take those moments and enjoy your moments, and every day find something to be fun and exciting and
Yeah.
enjoy the day. And
Yeah.
people are like, how are you smiling all the time? I said, because I am blessed and I'm so happy and excited. And, I am. I've got another
It's so
day with
true.
him. Hmm.
Yeah.
You appreciate that. How have you had to, like, with the kids, because they were so young, but
Mhm.
yeah, I still think they know, right? They
Yeah.
feel
Oh,
it,
yeah.
they know. And
Yeah.
so what are some things that you've done personally for them to help them, carry on through this with the grief?
Yeah, that's a good question, and it's been tricky because they all are different ages, and so they all
Yeah,
comprehend at different levels,
at
and
different
we
levels.
we all grieve differently, you
Yep.
know? So it's been so different for each child, but I think the biggest thing that I've really tried to put across the board is, well, a couple things, is we talk about him all the time still, and we talk make death and the dying process a very open conversation
Mhm,
in our home, that
mhm,
people die, and it's okay, it's sad. I we talk a lot about our emotions, about how it's okay to be sad. It's okay to have these feelings, to be emotional about it.
mhm,
There are times that my 8-year-old, almost 9-year-old, that he'll be acting out a little bit, and I'm trying to figure out, like, where is this coming from? Like, we've been
mm,
having a good day, and so finally when I get down to the root of it, and he and I are finally able to sit and talk, and he really wants to tell me after, I don't know, it might be a fit that he's throwing, or he's got a lot of attitude with me, or he's
yeah,
refusing
yeah,
to do his homework, whatever it is. He'll just say, like, "Ah, I just miss dad so much." Now
yeah,
now my husband was his particular stepdad, but he was around since before this child was 2, and he was another
yeah,
father figure to him. So he'll
yeah,
say, "I just miss dad
close.
so much."
Mhm,
And so he says, I just can't figure out why I am feeling this way, and, like, why I'm then being angry at you, and why I'm
mhm,
refusing to do my homework or not wanting to go to school." And I'm like, "Buddy, like, grief is hard. Like, what you're feeling is grief, and it's okay to miss him, and it's okay to feel this way." And that's the big thing, is I try to tell them that it's okay to feel this way, especially even 2 years later, that we are
mhm,
always gonna
mhm,
miss him, and it's okay. And there's random times that I hear a song
and you'll
or
just
something triggers
yeah,
me, and I just lose it, and
yeah,
I'm crying, and they're all like, "Mom, are you okay?" And I'm
yeah,
very open about how I'm okay. I'm happy. These are good, happy tears. I miss daddy. And that's where this is coming
mhm,
from. And I just need
mhm,
a moment where I just love daddy for a little bit. Um, I try to teach them that it shows up differently for everybody. So to just be patient and kind. My 4-year-old daughter, she struggled in the beginning, and she
mm,
would tell that she did not understand, but she struggled just because it was a lot of fits and outbursts. And like I said, she
yeah,
had just turned 3. And so that was a hard thing. So we just talk a lot about how, daddy still watches us, and he loves us, and we're gonna
mhm,
see him again someday. I personally have the belief that I will see him again, and so that's
yeah,
what I teach my kids, and
yeah.
that he's with Jesus now, and that,
He's
he's free of
healed,
pain.
and that's
He's
the thing
healed.
too. Your daddy's not sick anymore,
Nope, I
and
say his
that's the
brain is so much better
mhm,
now.
mhm. That's so good. That's so important to empower the children to know that they can grieve in their own way and
Yeah,
feel the sorrow and they don't understand their actions sometimes. And that's so neat that they recognize that. Like, I don't even know why I'm doing this. And and then
yeah,
you can explain maybe it's because and then they can like feel peace about that. So
yeah,
that's
yeah.
beautiful too. Do you homeschool or they go to school or
They go to school. My older
yeah.
2, I have kids. I have one in junior high, 7th
Oh
grade, and then a
gosh.
3rd grade elementary school, and then in preschool, and then home. So they're,
Yeah.
like, all over the board.
All over
Yeah.
the place.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a busy mama.
I am, for
A
sure.
busy mama, definitely. Oh, and I love too that you have family and people that have stepped in. And that's another thing that I'm so grateful for is the community around me. Over since August and all this happening, we've had so many people just that I don't even know, but yet know of our story and showing up and
Yes.
doing things and moving
It's
us and cutting
beautiful.
our grass and doing all the things. You're like, whoa.
So beautiful.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
just makes you think God is so good, because he's helping orchestrate all of this and taking care of
hmm
you, and just that's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Mhm. And then I remember something happened to you, and you tell a bit about this, and you had
Mhm.
some healing to do. You had an accident. I was like, "Oh my gosh,
Did.
what happened to this girl?" I was like,
I did. So I took my older 2 boys were with their dad for the weekend. So I had just taken my younger 2 kids on this church camp out, and they had a zip line going in the middle of the meadow. And so my 4-year-old was the one that wanted to get on it. And they had kids as young as, like, 2 going in these
"Yeah,
harnesses. So I was like, sure, it's not something that she normally would want to do. But I'm like, yeah, if you want to, who am I to tell you no?
yeah, yeah,
So we got her up there, and then she kind of freaked out at the very end and was like, I can't do it. It's too high, which I was okay with. We had this good conversation about how um she was brave, and even just
Yeah.
trying it is
Yeah.
strong, and I was proud of her. So then when she got down, she goes, "Mom, you should be a brave girl." No, she goes, "You
Oh,
should go on the
she's
zip." She goes, "You should be on the go on the zip line. Be a brave girl." So I was like, "Well, now I can't have
how
this
do
big
I not do
conversation with
it?
my daughter and not do it." And so I got on the zip line, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but I'm terrified of heights and it's not my thing. And so anyway, I got on the zip line and had asked him, "What can I do? Like, is there anything I can do besides going down normal? I feel like this is a one and done for me, and I kind of want to do something fun." And he told me I could go upside down, so I did. And
Mm-mm.
I still thankfully was holding on with one hand, but my leg slid out of the harness and I fell.
No.
So the harness was still attached to the cable. Nothing was broken, nothing was unclasped, nothing had come undone. It was still perfectly attached. I just was no longer in
Slid
the harness.
right
Yeah.
out.
I just slid right out. It was about a 30-foot fall.
Ah,
They had to air vac me out of there. So the campsite was about 2.5 hours from where I live. It
of
was about a
course.
30 about a 30-minute flight,
Yeah.
helicopter ride. So they got me to the hospital fine. My parents were up there, my sister was up there. So she brought my kids home, and yeah, so they had to drive down the mountain for that 2.5 hours. And I was upside down, and like I said, about a 30-foot fall. And
Mm.
I know when I fell, I couldn't open my eyes for about 20 minutes. I'm not sure if it was the shock or the pain, but
Yeah. Yeah.
they started flushing my eyes, and they were pulling out little tiny rocks out of my eyes. So they
Mm.
weren't sure if my eyes were scratched. My teeth looked all, they said I looked like a jack-o'-lantern, which thankfully was just dirt. My teeth were
Oh.
fully intact, but
Oh,
they were not
good.
sure when they found me.
Yeah,
Oh
when they
no,
were
she lost
seeing you.
teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I was bleeding from my head, from all over my head, and then, they're worried about my head, my neck, my spine, my pelvis, internal
Yeah.
bleeding. I had fingers going the wrong way, my ankle was kinda turned funny, so just all kinds of things, but I
Mhm.
ended up, I only broke a couple fingers, and then I broke my ankle and tore some ligaments, which doesn't sound like much, I mean, which sounds like a lot, but, the fact that I was upside down, and that could have
Yeah, you
been
could have been your neck broke
way
immediately.
worse
Yeah.
immediately,
Yeah.
honestly, that could have killed me, that could have killed me.
Oh, yeah.
So, my mom had to move in with me for a couple of weeks because I had one hand in a cast, one hand in a brace, and then my foot in an ankle in a my ankle in a boot. So 3 of my limbs were in some kind of
Oh,
cast,
jeez.
brace, boot,
I
something.
remember you going around on that scooter
A
thing.
scooter, my knee scooter that I finally was able to do
Yeah.
once I got out of the wheelchair. But yeah, I couldn't cook, I couldn't do dishes, I couldn't bathe myself for about a
Mm-mm.
week. Well, I could hardly get out of bed that first week.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah,
really
you're pretty
immobile.
sore. Oh.
My mom had to come in the first couple nights. I know the first night she had to roll me over if I needed to roll over, just because I was so dizzy and I couldn't move. And then, yeah, I couldn't bathe for by myself for a little bit just
Oh.
because it hurt so bad to get in and out of the shower. And then I knew I couldn't drive for a while. So it was about 3.5 weeks that she lived with me. And then she was able to move out. But I still was on the knee scooter, and yeah, I was just able to do a little bit more with the kids and stuff myself.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was just
That was
bizarre.
traumatic. Yeah. So
Yeah,
that was a
so that
one and done for sure. I mean,
yeah,
that
I'm
will
like,
never happen
I
again.
didn't even make it all the way down the line, and I don't think I'll
Oh.
even go back.
I
But
have
yeah, that was
never had I like it and I see people do it so freely and I'm like,
yeah,
nah,
no
I think I'm
thanks.
good right here.
I am good with my feet firmly planted on the ground.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Mhm.
that was 15 months after Tim died that happened, and I know that was really hard on my kids too because my face looked really bad. I had a
Yeah.
lot of road rash. It felt like my face got ripped off, but
Yeah.
um so just seeing me like that, and then with all of
Got
my
them
limbs
all
and everything.
scared. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know me leaving in the helicopter made them really nervous too because
Mm.
where are you taking mom? She's
Yeah.
covered in
Yeah.
blood.
Another
So
traumatic thing in their life.
uh-huh. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that was rough for a couple of weeks for them after I fell. And for me having this, I had this like out of body experience during
I
it and
bet.
then even after it of just like that really that really happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was
I think
traumatic.
that's probably why you laid there too for so long. You're like, did I just really fall that far? You know?
Truly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
My
what's
my
so
dad
funny.
fell off a ladder 27 or 28 feet up. He was painting a church and he
Oh
fell
goodness.
and broke his shoulder out. And he's like, because it went on pavement. And he's
Oh
lucky
my
he did
gosh.
not do anything
Break anything
else.
else.
But he was very
Yeah.
sore for days. And he
Oh,
looked like he'd
it
been beat up. Same thing, just
uh-huh.
like, and that was forever getting taken care of a couple of times, I think, before it finally, and he can't lift his arm, stuff like that. But
All of that.
are things doing okay now with that or? You're doing
Yeah,
better.
so I'm pretty much healed. I had to do physical therapy and then for my foot and occupational therapy for my hand, 2 hours for each twice a week. So I had to
Mhm.
do, it was 4 hours of therapy a week that I had to do.
Yeah, to get everything
And I
moving
was,
again and
yeah. And
get your
it was
strength
just
back.
all of that. Yeah, I had no grip strength on either hand for a while. And then, so I was in the boot for a long time after that. And then I feel like completely healed. I still have pretty bad vertigo. I think just because of my concussion, but
Ah,
we're
yeah.
figuring that out. They think it's so random. They think my inner ear crystals got dislodged, is what they
Isn't
think
that
it
weird?
is.
Yeah, the strangest stuff they can come up with and say, but
I know.
concussions are horrible. I mean, they can last a long time, the
A
after
long
effects
time.
of them. I've heard
That's
of that.
yeah. That's the big thing I'm dealing with because September to now, it's been what, 7 months or so, I
Mm,
think is how long. And so yeah, it's still my vertigo and then my headaches. So we're trying
mm,
to figure that out. But other than that, yeah,
back
it's just
to
wild that all it was a couple fingers and then my
oh,
ankle.
thank God. Yeah, for that. Another thing that I was thinking about, I
Yeah.
love how you talked about loving life when things don't go as planned.
Mhm.
You know, and that's what I was saying too. I love my life and I will continue to
Yes.
love my life even though it's through the hard. You know, we have to
Yeah.
face the hard things. And I think that by showing that like you have, it touched me. So you know it's touching others. And then it's also showed me how resilient you were and strong. And so that helps build that strength and power in someone else. And I think
Yeah.
being authentic with your emotions like that have helped many and that may not have even told you, you know, but you're touching lives every day by just being
Yeah.
you and showing how you are making it through this, you know, with resilience and happy and laughter and sadness, because I think we need to see the sadness, you know.
Yeah.
People need to
Yeah.
know that there are hard days. When I don't show up for a couple of days and then I come back and like, well, it's
Uh-huh.
because, you know, those 2 days I needed nothing.
Uh-huh.
I didn't need to be smiling for a minute, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I feel like I'm kind of in one of those phases right now, especially with my social media. I feel like I've been a little bit absent and I'm just kind of in this phase where it's interesting that you can feel I don't think people realize that you can feel two emotions at the same time, two conflicting
Mhm.
emotions. I'm very
Mhm.
happy with my life and I'm very content with where I'm at and I feel very proud of who I'm becoming.
Mhm.
So there's that side that I'm very comfortable. I don't want things to change. I'm very good with where I'm
Yeah.
at.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I also feel lately I've just had this just this sadness, this
Mhm.
loneliness, I guess you
Mhm.
can say. And it's
Yeah.
just this realization that I'm coming up on 2 year, it'll be 2 years in I
Yeah.
don't know, less than 2 months. It'll be in June, 6 weeks or so. And it just I'm still just very sad. I miss
Mhm.
him. And it's just
Mhm.
this realization of like my life truly does go on without him.
Yeah.
So
And
it's that you can
you don't want to say that it is. I think sometimes too
uh-huh.
we're like feel guilty that we
Yeah.
can be happy but
Uh-huh.
also sad. So people don't realize that too. They're thinking that they have to be in the sad mode to be accepted or
Uh-huh.
not not doing the right thing if you're, you know,
Yeah.
being sad or being happy.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's how I make
Exactly.
it through each day. I mean, I find joy in it and so that I can keep going because I'd be in that bed in there if I
All day
wasn't.
long.
Yeah.
You know, I think people a common like misconception or thought that people have is that like I've been living my life as best I can. I've really been trying no matter where it is. So why are things going wrong? Like why are bad things
Mhm.
happening to me? And I think once you can flip that into like bad things are going to happen in your life. They happen to everyone. Trials come to all of us.
Mhm.
That's part of the plan. That's part of,
Mhm.
us. That's part of our mortal experience
Yeah.
here. um, it's truly just the Lord like leveling us up, just trying to make us become something more,
Mhm.
through your hard experiences is where you learn and where you grow. So when those things happen, instead of thinking like, oh my gosh, why me? Why did this have to happen to us? You just think like, okay, this is good. This is good for me. Because without pain, we would never know what joy
Oh, we
was.
wouldn't.
We
No,
wouldn't know it. We are only happy because we only know what this happiness is because we know how bad
it was.
that pain
Yeah.
feels. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we're like, no, I feel really good because I know what bad feels like. And so when the pain comes, when those hard times, the confusing, complex, perplexing, why is this happening to me moments come, you think this is good. This is good for
Mhm.
my life. This is as
Mhm.
it should be. It's really hard for me to wrap my brain around and say like my husband's cancer was good and I don't think
Yeah.
I'll ever utter the words that I'm grateful for it, but
Uh-uh.
but I have been able my perspective has changed so much because of it on just life and being
Mhm.
able to live every day of like, I'm so grateful that I'm still here and my kids are still here. And
Mhm.
like, how are we going to make this day the happiest day for us?
Mhm.
Because we know what bad days feel like.
Yeah, yeah, because you look at it in a whole nother light. I mean, things stand out so much clearer, that
Yeah.
you took for I mean, Tim and I were working ourselves silly. I mean, we were working hard. We traveled in an
Yes.
RV. We were working constantly. Home on the weekend, repack, go again. And then now when it all came to a halt, we were like, "Whew, now we get to be
Uh-huh.
home and we're
Yeah.
enjoying home." And we realized we were killing ourselves just doing what we were doing.
Yes.
And now we find the
Yes.
joy of being here and starting over and doing things differently. Now he's doing virtual stuff, he gets to do, but
Mhm.
thank goodness for that, and it's just a whole new way, but we're finding joy in that and
Yes.
appreciative of it and gratitude. I mean, I thank him daily. My feet don't hit the ground in the morning out of my bed till I've said my thanks and for
Uh-huh.
asking for wisdom and courage and, live through me so others see you because that's the most vital thing, as they see Jesus in me. I don't want them
Yes.
to see the hurt, the pain, all that. I mean, I want them to
Yeah.
see it, but in the light of him is what I want,
Yes. I
because
love that you just said that because I think so often people I question I get a lot is like, how do you do it? How are you so happy? And I'm like, it's not me. Like
mm,
you are seeing Christ through me is what you're
yeah,
seeing. And that's
yeah.
such a blessing. Like I am so touched anytime someone says that, but I'm like, this is not me. I'm not this great special
No.
person. You are seeing the work of the Lord is what
Yeah,
you're seeing.
yeah. I mean, without him, we would be that person that's angry and upset and,
Yeah.
being mad at the world. Um, and I know a person in my life, and she lost a baby, a miscarriage, and she's so angry. And I thought, "You're
Yeah.
missing out on so much that God wants to show you through this
Yeah.
because you're staying in anger." Yeah, we get angry. I mean, I'm not saying don't do that because I did when my mom died, and
Yes.
it was 12 years just this past week, and I'm like, I got mad. I didn't want him to
Yeah.
take her when he did, but
Yeah.
I went through those emotions, still grateful for the time and the years I had
Yes.
with her and all the things, but when you can't get past that, you're still in the joy that he's wanting to bless you with, because he promises good, right? That's his
Yes.
promises. He promises
Yes.
good. Even in
He
this nastiness of the ugly cancer world, he still promises good. And people
he's
are like, well,
still
why did they choose
good.
your Tim or why did they choose my Tim? And I'm like, I don't
I
know.
don't
I
know.
can't answer that. And
Yeah.
I won't always have the answers. People want answers from God like right away. And I'm like, you may never get that answer.
Yeah.
You know? I mean,
Yeah.
he may show it to you years later and you're gonna be like, "Oh,
Oh, there it is.
that's what it was."
Yes.
And he prepares you if you allow him,
Absolutely.
you
There,
know?
the things happening now could be preparing you for things down the
Mhm.
line,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
So,
My voice here. Well,
okay.
Amanda, Amber. I knew I was gonna say that. I knew I was gonna say
That's
Amanda.
okay. I get called Amanda all the time, so it's totally fine.
I
Maybe
knew I
I'm
was
the quick
gonna
one
do
to
that.
remember.
Amber, I am
Yes.
so thankful to have you on today. And
Thank you.
one thing I like to do, I have these little cards here that have scripture on them, and I shuffle through them, and whatever's on top, that's what I read. And then I want you to be thinking about what is one thing that you like to collect. And then you can share that with us. And I'll shuffle them a little bit more. And I don't look at them. And whatever he has on top, that's what's meant for us today. And it
Okay.
says, if God is for us, who can be against us? Romans 8:31.
I love that scripture.
Perfect. He always he gives us the right one for the
The
day.
right
So I
one
just
every
love
time.
that. Yep. So what is something you like to collect?
Books.
Ah,
I love I
you
love to
see my
read. I can see
stacks.
them. Yes. I love to read and it's sometimes people say like, "Well, you read it once. Why do you then need to like have a physical copy?" And I'm like, "It just makes me happy." And there are times that I do
Mhm.
like to go back and I like to reread books because they make me happy. So there are times that I reread them. And right now I have a little bookshelf in my room and a little one in my front room, but then most of them are shoved into my closet. So I have this dream that someday I will have this Beauty and the Beast library where I can just go in and have
Oh,
all the
and
great books.
everything's all laid out, right? Because it's hard to get rid of them once you get them. Because people say, like, "Share them," and I'm like, "But that's got so
Yeah,
many
that's my book.
things my highlights in it, and there's things in there that I might need to go back to."
Yeah.
Have you read The Gap in the Game?
No.
Okay, you need to get that one, and then you
What's
need
it
to
called?
get this.
Focus. And then what's the
Yeah.
other one? The gap and the gain? Okay. Write that down. And then focus. Okay.
This one, Gap in the Game.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to
You
look
will
at it.
absolutely love that one. It's another one that you'll read over again because it's
Yeah.
really good. And this focus is about how one word a week will transform your life.
Oh,
And it
that's
takes
good.
the word and then it takes it all into scripture and why God says this word is what it means and why you use it. And like this week is
Okay. I wrote that one
my
down.
word is rhythm. And it's been incredible words. I mean, it's just I love this
So
book.
good.
And it'll
And
be
I
a
think
practical book.
that really helps you see where the Savior is showing up in your story. Like that. I think those words
Yeah.
you just know about it more in
Yeah.
scriptural tense.
Yeah.
So
I
I
mean,
love
they have
that.
been perfectly placed every week. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my goodness, yes. And then, your daily scriptures and stuff you dive into. It's just so cool
Yeah.
how he does
So
that.
good.
So again, thank you for being on today. It was good to get to know you more. Let's stay in touch.
Thank you. I thank you so much. I have loved this. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining my podcast today. We all have a story to share. Each story has purpose and makes an impact to you, the listener, creating a journey with passion and purpose. The journey we're taking is the journey within you. Please share with others and subscribe below.